Hey YouTube, James from the Wyvern Watch here, and welcome to another deck profile. This one, of course, is the Ice Barrier deck, a pure build, and one I've thoroughly enjoyed putting together a little while ago now. I sort of finished it when the structure deck came out, of course, and we've got one or two extra important pieces for the list. But yeah, so this is my take on it. We're doing Ice Barriers mainly because of a poll I put out earlier in the week, just to see what decks most of you would like to see next. I put out Ice Barrier, Fire Fist, Naturia, and what else did I put out? Something else I can't remember now. But this is what's been chosen. This is sort of the winner of that particular poll, so I thought I'd take this opportunity on my day off and put the list up for you. So let's get straight into it. Let's lose the field center a little bit over there, maybe. In fact, we'll just take it off. And obviously this is the Ice Barrier structure deck playmat as well, which I used to pick up in locals. My dad actually uses this one, believe it or not, because he has an Ice Barrier deck as well. Yeah, I just thought I'd show it off so you can see it all there. But first card of the deck is one of the newer ones out of the structure deck, and really it's become sort of the heart and soul, I would say, of it. So while you control another Ice Barrier monster, defense position monster your opponent controls cannot change their battle positions. You can only use each of the following effects as speaker of Ice Barriers once per turn, and if you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. So a great extender, of course. But then if you control an Ice Barrier monster, and you can banish this card from your graveyard and special summon an Ice Barrier token. So yeah, obviously, you can use this to go into a Synchro or a Link or whatever, and then use the effect in grave, because it doesn't say that you can't. So getting multiple uses out of it. Next card out of the structure deck, of course, is Revealer of the Ice Barrier, another important piece, I would say. So while you control another Ice Barrier monster, your opponent cannot tribute summon. You can only use each of the following effects of Revealer once per turn. You can discard one card, special summon one Ice Barrier tuner from your deck. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except water monsters. That ain't a problem in this deck, let me tell you. If you would discard or send a card from hand to graveyard to activate an Ice Barrier monster's effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. That's an important effect, actually, and one that gets often forgotten about. So if you are going to build Ice Barriers, just make sure you keep that in mind when you're sending your Revealer to the grave. And try not to forget about its graveyard effect. Also out of the structure deck is General Wayne. Now the generals in the Ice Barrier lineup generally, excuse the pun, aren't sort of amazing. I've kept a couple in this deck because I wanted to make sure that I've got lots and lots of names there, but this is certainly one of the better ones. So spell and traps sent from the field to your opponent's grave are banished instead. You can only use each of the following effects of General Wayne once per turn, and if your opponent controls a monster and you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add an Ice Barrier spell trap from deck to hand. Really important piece to the puzzle. That shame it's in common. Could have done with a nice super or ultra rare version, I would imagine. Maybe I'll get one in the future. Right, onto some of the older ones. So I'll say, we'll start with this guy, because this guy is also out of the structure deck. Two of this guy. Now look how adorable the artwork is on the Hexa Spirit of the Ice Barrier. Two of these, of course. But while you control another Ice Barrier monster, monsters your opponent controls lose 500 attack and defense. And during your main phase, you can send one level 3 or lower Ice Barrier monster from your deck to the graveyard. And if you do, this card's level becomes the same as that monster's until the end of the turn. Now, bear in mind, it's a tuner. It basically means you can obviously manipulate the levels that you've got available on board to go for a particular Synchro monster. Now, some of the older ones, I won't go through all the effects, but you've got Prior, which is an extender, but with a high cost to it, because you can't summon any level 5 or higher monsters. But it is a level 2 as well, which becomes important with Hexa. And then I've got quite a few one-offs. So I'll put these out just so you can see them all. So I've got one General Gantala. These are sort of the older General Monsters that I was talking about. General Gunrad, the Grunard of the Ice Barrier. One Strategist. One Defender. One Judge. It's actually one of the newer cards. One Zuijin. And one Dance Princess. Now, there's plenty of search options in this deck, so that's why there's a fair few one-offs. Some of them are in here just for the artwork itself. I mean, Judge and Dance Princess are just stunning looking cards. I think that's a super card, that is. Super looking one. And like I say, Judge as well. They've all got the useful effects, but mainly they're there just for levels, for the names, just so you can, you know, get to those all-important Synchro Monsters. And like I say, I like to run as many names as possible. You probably wouldn't run all these cards, of course, if you were trying to make a competitive build, because this definitely isn't a competitive build. You know, I'm all about the funsies, aren't I? So the other support cards that aren't ice barriers are, of course, Silent Angler and Crystron Sea-Tree. Crystron Sea-Tree is a great little thing because obviously it is a tuner monster itself, but obviously it's helping going into some of this, the Crystron Monsters as well. You would absolutely run Halcry Firebacks if it wasn't on the ban list, but it obviously isn't in this deck, but it's got some really nice synchro effects as well, so that's why there's just one copy of that in there. And Silent Angler is just a great little extender. If you control a water monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but you can't special summon monsters from your hand for the rest of the turn. So just make sure that's like part of the last thing you do in terms of your combo, and you'll be fine. So that's it for the monsters. Moving on to spells. First of all, of course, is Medallion. I don't think I've seen an Ice Barrier build that doesn't run Medallion at 3. I can't see any reason why you wouldn't. But add one Ice Barrier monster from your deck to hand. Simple, very simple. And obviously you can search any of them, so dead easy. This one, again, out of the structure deck. So this is Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier. 3 of on this one. So when this card is activated, you can target one level 4 or lower Ice Barrier monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and while you control 3 or more Ice Barrier monsters you control are unaffected by the effects of your opponent's monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck. You can only do that once per turn. So yeah, nice little card. Obviously continuous spell on that one. This one, yeah, we're running at 2. I was running at 3 actually originally, but it very quickly became a 2 of, because you contribute any number of Ice Barrier monsters, special summon from your deck that many level 4 or lower Ice Barrier monsters with different names from each other. So you're just doing a switch out, you know, again, to manipulate your levels and get to a certain Synchro monster. During your main phase, except for the turn this is sent for the graveyard, you can banish this card from the graveyard and target one of your Ice Barrier monsters that is banished or in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So a little bit of recursion there as well. But yeah, nice looking card, that one as well. On to sort of generic stuff. As you know, I always like to run some form of back row removal. So on this occasion, it's 2 Mystical Space Typhoons, sticking with the sort of water fiend theme, I should say. 1 Foolish Burial, of course, just to dump maybe a Speaker or a Revealer to the graveyard to use those effects. And 1, of course, Monster Reborn, always very handy when you come into a casual deck like this. Onto traps, I've got 2 Drowning Mirror Force, again just sort of keeping on with the water theme. 2 Fiendish Chain, simply because it's still a brilliant card in my opinion. 2 Ice Barrier, not strictly speaking an Ice Barrier card actually, but it is obviously with it being called Ice Barrier, but you know, that's how it goes. 1 Goes a Match, of course, because it's now been limited on the ban list. So those are your traps. Everyone knows what those do, so no need to explain. That's it for the main deck, guys. So we're moving swiftly on to the extra deck. Now the extra deck is, as usual, packed, and you've got so many different options in the extra deck. But these are my choices, of course. Going down in levels, we'll start with Trishula Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier. So this is the newer one out of the structure deck. So when this card is synchro summoned, you can banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls, and full stop. And if this synchro summon card is in its own control, is destroyed by opponent's card, you can special summon 1 Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier from your extra deck or graveyard. His attack becomes 3,300, then halve the attack of any face-up monster your opponent currently controls. Also negate their effects, and that's permanently. So you can only do that once per turn, of course, but absolutely amazing effect. So generally speaking, you go for that one first before you go for this one, which is, of course, the classic Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier. And I do have this one in the Starlight Rare, which is absolutely beautiful. Just thought I'd showcase that one a little bit, but yeah, stunning looking card. As you know, I've got, if you've seen my Yangzing profile, I've also got this Trishula in the Ultimate Rare, which looks equally as good. Sticking with Synchros for now, we've also got Ravenous another one with a mouthful. Croco Dragon Archithis, I think it is. Really nice card, that one, to be fair, not played often enough. The first of the Crystons is Cryston Phoenix. Then moving on to White Aura Whale. That's also an underrated card as well. I think, did I run? Yeah, I've got that one in my Legendary Fisherman deck as well, so you'll have seen that recently. Adamanta Pacer Risen Dragonite. Also water, of course, so we're just taking advantage of the water theme. We'll just move these over a little bit. There we go, so hopefully get a second row in here. We've got Gungnir, one of the more classic ones, of course. Just put you a bit further up, just so get it on the screen. There we go. Duroran, more classics. Bryanak, all the classics. We've also got Coral Dragon, which obviously fits the theme. And last but not least is the Quandrax as well, the Crystron name. So just a tiny Crystron engine there, but I just thought worth the shot. I think they're all fat water, aren't they? Yeah, I think every single one of them's water. So that's it for the Synchro lineup. Can't miss the classics though. Brionoc, I mean, God knows how many times that was summoned back in its day. Whether it was in the Ice Barrier deck or not, I think everyone seemed to play that. And then just a few more support cards. So we've got Marincess, Coral Anemone, which actually reminds me I haven't yet done my Marincess profile. I haven't updated it for a while actually, but I'll have a look at that and perhaps look at doing it next time. Abyss Dweller, of course, why wouldn't you get to that fairly quickly? 1 Bahamut Shark and 1 Totally Awesome. Sort of standard lineup for a water extra deck, and obviously we're just carrying on the token there just for the speaker effect. Guys, that's it for the deck profile. Thank you very much for once again tuning in and listening to me drivel on about another really good deck. Amazing fun to play this deck, honestly. I love it so much. It's a lot of my decks have got single attributes actually, and obviously this is one of the water ones. And I think water is going to get a little bit of support coming up from what I know. I mean, obviously fire got a lot of support in the last year or two, maybe 18 months. And still getting some support actually as well. But hopefully water will get some nice bits and pieces, and I'll be able to upgrade this deck a little bit as well. I'm also hoping for wind at some point, because I'd love to upgrade my Gusto deck with a few more nice new cards, but we'll see how that goes. Guys, keep the comments coming, keep subscriptions coming. I'm up to 177, I think, this morning. So getting ever closer to that 200 milestone. Can't wait for that. Assuming, obviously, if you've got any comments, sorry, forget assuming, but if you've got any comments on this deck, please do let me know. Throw me a subscribe, put a like in there, why not? And we'll see you for the next profile. Thanks once again. Bye bye.